So, in the morning, as to slovensko naše posijalo tvrdo spalo, Slovakians were still sleeping, and I went to bus station in Bratislava, which is it offers some nice views. As you can see, they are building some high-rises, skyscrapers, and I think they are building the new bus station too, but I didn't watch and look for that as much as I was going to Budapest with the bus. And yes, actually, probably I prefer cities of the size of Bratislava more than cities of the size like Budapest, but it's a really nice, beautiful city. And yeah, these wide boulevards and the grand houses and this poster as the thanks to doctors for COVID-19. I don't know what's written there, but since there's written something that ends with God, I assume they mean that they are like ancient Hungarian gods or something like that. But that's just my interpretation. And yeah, the river Donau or Danube, and wonderful, simply wonderful. I spent just a few days there, and I had a really good time. So yeah, you can see Parliament building from the other side of the river. I was in the Buda part of the city, because it consists of Buda, Pest and Óbuda also, I guess the three main parts of the city. And there in the background this monument of freedom on the mountain. I went there later too, but yeah, then this is the near Buda Castle, and this is the fisherman's bastion, Halas Bastia or something like that in Hungarian. Probably I'm butchering the pronunciation, but yeah. And here, if you climb up, it was free when I went there. It was in the middle of the day, but maybe sometimes you have to pay, because I saw that there were some machines for the tickets, but it was all open, maybe because of COVID-19, I don't know, because I was there on 7th of July or 6th of July, the beginning of July, before all this situation with COVID-19 got worse in Europe, as it's slowly getting worse and worse now. And yeah, there are some nice views from up there. You can look at Parliament, the Pest side of the city, and some beautifully renovated streets and buildings. This Saint, or is it Saint? Maybe it's just Matthias Church or something like that. And there's this John Hunyadi monument somewhere, or János Hunyadi, how it's called in Hungarian. He's like a Hungarian hero from the Middle Ages. And the force for the István, or Stefan as it's known in English, who's the first king of Hungarians, I guess. A lot of history there, yeah. And very beautiful, very picturesque city from above, to look at all these hills and buildings, and the Parliament in all its glory, built in very early 20th century. The house of all Hungarians or something like that. And the trams, yeah, the tram network is actually, I guess it's one of the biggest in the world in Budapest, because I also read about that, and it kind of seemed like that, because they are really running in all directions in the city. There are the newer ones, the old ones which look really good, these yellow ones, and then I went a bit further out to the seven chieftains of Hungary monument, which is like the 7 tribes or 7 leaders of Hungarians, which brought Hungarians somewhere deep from the steppes of Russia, I guess, where they lived, to Europe. And yeah, then they came to Europe and they live in Europe now, as we all know. And there's a monument for these guys, but I didn't film it for some reason, or I lost the footage, I don't know, but I went to some place where there were some museums. And this is just pretty much where I lived. Very center, near Ferencster metro station. And this is also about the same area, really nice, as I said. Good vibe, a lot of foreigners too. Really energetic city, I would say, because later after Budapest I went to Vienna and that's completely different vibe. It's a beautiful city with beautiful buildings and beautiful monuments and all the history, but it's somehow it felt flat. Maybe because it is flat, but yeah, Vienna is very different, and I think it's much more boring just as a city to a person, to a tourist visiting. If you're going there for history, for museums, for art, yeah, it's very good, but the vibe of the city is it's much better in Budapest, I think. And yeah, here you can climb up the hill where the Freedom Monument is, and there's some artificial waterfall, I guess. This is one of the bridges. I think it was originally built in the 60s when the communists were ruling Hungary, because I thought it looked younger, but later on I checked and it was I guess it was the 60s. And it was really exhausting, but I went up there to see the National Monument, which I also didn't film for some reason, I don't know why. But yes, there are some breathtaking views, and as I understand, that monument was built actually by Soviets or Hungarians under Soviet liberation or occupation in 1945. And it was built in honor of Soviets who liberated the city. But of course, at the end of communist rule, Hungarians weren't really happy about that liberation as much, so they changed the inscription a bit, I guess, and now it doesn't specify that it was Soviet Union who liberated them, but just that it's dedicated to people who fought for the liberation and independence of Hungary for all people, and doesn't specify them like the Soviet involvement in that. But yeah, it's really nice views, nice monument, interesting history again, everything like that. And yeah, the views from there are just something else. Yeah, it's completely wonderful city, and this bridge kind of reminds me of San Francisco, like the Golden Gate Bridge and all that. And back in the center of the city, it's St. Istvan's Cathedral, or St. Stephen, again the first ruler of Hungary, I guess, the first and the Catholic ruler and saint even. He was a saint. And here's the monument for the Nazi attack takeover of Hungary. And there were some critics of this monument who were saying that Mr. Orban's government was naughty and distorting history, and there was some exhibition regarding the Jews who were basically deported to Nazi Germany during the war by Hungarian government. So yeah, difficult and hard history. But yes, Parliament, I went to the Parliament, and of course that's also a magnificent building, the biggest building in Hungary still, I guess, since it was built in 1902 by a Hungarian architect. It's fully made in Hungary. And there are these old yellow trams, which are wonderful, which are beautiful, and they go everywhere, and really the tram network is amazing, and especially this place when they like change and there's this pool of water and some nicely renovated, nicely done streets. Just a pleasure to walk around. And yeah, I really enjoyed these few days in Budapest. I think it's a wonderful city, and I'll probably, not probably, but I will return there someday. And yeah, and then I went to Vienna again with the bus, and I went to some further away from the center to some station, bus station and a metro station, Budapest Keleti or something like that, and there are some commie blocks. So that's that, and yeah, that's where we end this.